Hey listeners, it's Kara, your host. After 176 amazing episodes and hundreds of book recommendations, I wanted to make it a little bit easier for you to find your next great read. The Bookish Lights Roadmap is your guide to all 175 podcast episodes, sorted by genre so you can quickly find the stories that fit your reading mood. From picture books to adult novels and everything in between, it's the perfect way to explore past episodes and discover new favorites. You can find your copy of the Bookish Lights Roadmap at www.bookishlights.com/read/roadmap, or just click the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm Kara Infante, and this is Bookish Flights, a podcast where we tell our stories through our favorite books. Each episode features a bookish guest where we will talk about reading, life, and the seasons we're in, all through a thoughtfully paired book flight of recommendations for you. If you're looking for meaningful book recommendations and a space to slow down, you're in the right place. Welcome back to Bookish Flights. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome back Janyre Tromp. If her name sounds familiar, that's because she previously joined us on episode 106, where we talked about her novel, Darkness Calls the Tiger. Janyre is an award-winning, best-selling historical suspense novelist, known for weaving together rich history, myth, and stories that search for beauty, even when it isn't pretty. Her newest novel, The Scorpion Thief, takes readers into a Cold War political game involving a cursed Egyptian artifact, two estranged sisters on opposite sides of a dangerous heist, and a mystery that stretches from the streets of Cairo to Washington, D.C., and even New Orleans. Janyre, welcome back to Bookish Flights. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Kara. It's amazing to be here again.
Yes, we have kept in touch over this time, and it is so fun to see that you have a new novel coming out. And listeners, if you haven't seen the cover yet of The Scorpion Thief, you need to go check it out. Like, it is gorgeous, just as Darkness Calls the Tiger was as well.
Oh, thank you so much. This one was fun because this was my creation. So I actually drew parts of it and then put it all together. So it was a super fun project, actually.
Yeah. Had you always I'm terrible at drawing anything. Like, if my kids need something, I'm like, here's my stick figure. Like, is that something you're confident in yourself doing?
I wouldn't say confident necessarily, but it's something I've always done. I've always loved art, and I actually got back into it when my daughter was like in middle school. She is an amazing fine artist, but I've always dabbled, and then I sat down with her and with her kind of learned some new stuff. And so you'll see if you go back through my career, you'll see little things that I've done. So like I did watercolor postcards to promote Shadows in the Mind's Eye. I actually drew the map that's inside Darkness Calls the Tiger.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I actually have little kids books from way back. I have board books that I did all the photography for. So it's there. It's just not my big flashy thing. So yeah, it's been fun to just use that to support my main art, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
And no one knows your story better than you. So who better to do the cover art than yourself?
Exactly. And I had a really hard time because it's set in the 1970s. Like, good luck finding any art to like fit that. Like, what do you do with that? So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it myself.
And
So,
not like bell bottoms and daisies in your hair, right? Like something totally different, what you think of.
Exactly. Yes. And so it's like it's a very vibey, Cairo, Egyptian vibey thing going on. So it's super fun. Yeah. And that's Anubis. If anybody is curious, that's Anubis on the cover.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I feel like I would not have been able to recall that. Although you say that, I'm like, oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. The god of death. The god of death. So, yeah.
Yes. Well, for listeners that have not gotten to pick up The Scorpion Thief yet, let's tell them a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So at its core, I mean, you kind of mentioned a little bit, but at its core, Scorpion Thief is like this Cold War thriller art heist thing. And we have two sisters, and they're estranged. And one sister is an Egyptologist. So she is kind of sworn or in this place where she is to protect the King Tut artifacts, and the other sister is being blackmailed into stealing the artifacts. So they're
Okay.
like on a collision course between the two of them. And half the book takes place in Cairo, Egypt, and half of it takes place in New Orleans. And there's all of this political things that are happening in the background of this book. And can I tell you the story about how I found this topic?
Yes, it actually is one of my questions.
Oh,
So
is
you're
it?
just getting there. Yeah, you're great.
I'm skipping ahead, guys. I am so sorry. Um, so this book, I got an email. I'm a history nerd, right? Because
Yeah.
I write history. Even though in high school I hated history, for the record.
Yeah.
But I got this email. I think it was from National Geographic, if I remember. And like the headline was the King Tut tour in the 1970s was a political manipulation of the American public. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
what?
And I was working on a different book at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I kind of dove into that. And I had to make myself stop so I could finish the other book. But I kind of dove into that. And it was like, oh my goodness, the history in this time period, you could not write it because everybody would think it was fake.
Yeah.
So there are a lot, almost every twist and turn that's in The Scorpion Thief is based on something that actually happened in history. But couldn't do all of them because
Yeah.
it would have been
So
so
much. Yeah.
much, so unrealistic. So it was a super fun book to research, basically. But yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing I remember from our previous conversation is just your love of research. So I knew this book was going to be packed with real life, woven in.
Absolutely. And I am really careful for anybody that's out there that's like, that sounds boring. Okay, so I am my background, I am actually a book editor by trade.
Yeah.
So my first drafts have all of the crazy history, and then I go through and like cut everything that doesn't matter. And I have a whole file for those of us who love history, and I give that to my book club people. I have
That's fun.
online, I have a place where you can go and like get all of the other crazy facts that had to be deleted. So
Yeah.
I am first and foremost a suspense writer, and we keep that. I slow burn, but we keep that pace going, man, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think that is to your point of I didn't love history in high school either because it was just memorizing facts to take a test, right? And there's really not a story. But when I discovered historical fiction, it just blew open my world of I want to know everything. And then you can place it in context. You can go through what the people were going through of the time. And so I think there's something to be said about reading historical fiction versus a dry history text, like totally different.
These are totally different things.
Yeah.
Totally different things. Yes. And like most of us that write historical fiction and do it really, really well,
Yeah.
we love history, but we're writing stories and we know we're writing stories. So like
Yeah.
our primary goal is always entertain, because that's what fiction is. But
Yeah.
and I love doing all the things. I like making it very difficult for myself as an author so that the readers have a great time reading my books. So yeah.
Yeah. And I love always at the end, I mean, like you said, you have a document, so you can then go and be like, well, what was real and what wasn't? Like, what was the fictional thread here? And usually there's an author's note at the end. So then you can learn where maybe some liberties were taken to help tell the story, but you will learn so much through historical fiction. So don't be afraid to pick it up if you haven't yet.
Exactly. And I always tell people don't read my historical note until after you've read the book because I will give a lot away.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Don't go read the end.
no, you don't want to do that. So yeah.
I have to admit, I do have a bookish bad habit that, especially if I'm worried someone's going to die, I sometimes go read like the last 2 or 3 pages to make sure this character doesn't die. And then I still go back and I read the story to see what plays out. But yeah, I don't know.
I'll allow it. I will allow it. I will allow it. I'm trying to think if in the end of this one, if that would give anything away. Well, you might. It might give some stuff away, but yeah.
I don't always. It's really when I'm really worried about a character dying and I'm like, how broken is my heart going to be at the end of this that I have to kind of let myself in?
And one never knows with my books. I will admit that. One never knows what I will do because I will call so we actually referenced before Jamie Doe Wright before
Yeah.
we logged on. Jamie and I brainstormed together. And so there have been more than one occasion where Jamie said, "When was the last time you killed somebody off?"
Mm.
And I'll be like, "Yep, okay, I guess it's time."
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, both she and I have that. I've said that to her too, but she said
Yeah.
that one to me in this book, and I knew I had to. So
Yeah. I love the collaborative effort between
yeah,
you two. That's great.
it's fun.
Yeah. So you were exploring this relationship of these two
Mhm.
estranged sisters. How was that for you to write?
It was um it was kind of hard for me, honestly.
Yeah.
It was this thing where I wanted to make sure that both perspectives were shown realistically, and they are coming from very different places.
Yeah.
And so when you're writing fiction, I mean, one of the things that you're always looking for is conflict, right?
Yeah.
And so as I was building this story, there is obviously a lot of external conflict in what's happening in the actual history in the book in the political world at that time. We're coming out of the Yom Kippur War. Just before that was the Six-Day War. You have Vietnam going on. You have the undertones of Watergate were starting. It
Oh,
hadn't come
yeah.
out yet,
Okay.
but Nixon was trying to hide what he had done, and so that's part of where the political manipulation with the King Tut tour came in.
Okay.
Um, but so you have all this rumbling, but it's all external. And so I stumbled on this little historical fact that during the same time period that all of this was happening around the world, in the United States, the American Communist Party had this faction that was very, very, very up in arms about things. And they were bombing the US. So they were bombing US targets thousands of times per year,
Wow.
right? And part of
Okay.
how they were funding themselves is art theft,
Okay.
right? So I have these two sisters, and because I had this idea that I wanted them to be in conflict with one another, because what's more personal than your your
Yeah.
sibling, this person that you were close to your whole life, that you watched out for, and then all of a sudden you break apart, and what happens then? And how does that happen? And can you come back together? So I
Yeah.
was playing with all of those pieces, but I couldn't figure out, okay, well, how do I get the one sister to be in huge conflict with this Egyptologist? And I stumbled on that fact of the Communist Party. And I was thinking, that's really interesting because I could see a young woman in the 1970s. I mean, there was a lot of student organizations
Yeah.
that leaned communist, but they were not the extremists, right? But I could see the extremists convincing a regular, student to do something that they wouldn't normally do
Yeah.
because they had connections. Right? And
Yeah.
so I didn't I it was one of those things where as I was playing with it, I could see my two sisters. So Nora is the Egyptologist and Estelle is kind of the more rebellious, I guess you would say, in the time period, sister. And she is caught in this place where she's basically blackmailed into using her sister to get
Yeah.
access to the King Tut artifacts. And watching her struggle because she's mad at her sister.
Yeah.
They were estranged. The same events that they experienced as kids, like made them go in completely opposite directions. Um, and she's struggling because she is in a place where she kind of has to help steal the thing that means so much to her sister, but it doesn't mean those things don't mean anything to her personally. So
Yeah.
Estelle is struggling with, I don't want to hurt my sister, but I don't really care about what she cares about. So what do you do with that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas her sister cares about her where Nora cares about Estelle and is trying to figure out, is she actually doing what I think she's doing? I don't want to think that she's doing that. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of how do you walk through conflict with somebody else, and how do you trust, and what do you do in those situations? And then I
Yeah.
threw in a third character just for fun because he's a conservator.
Okay.
So he is the one that fixes the antiquities and also recreates for museums, like the little tchotchkes that you buy from
Yeah.
museums. There's
Yeah.
actually hugely fine artists that are experts in creating those reproductions, but they're also very talented at potentially making reproductions that are not necessarily meant to be sold in museums.
Yeah.
Right. So you
Yeah.
have these three characters, and it's fun to play with them. And Theo, my curate, the guy who's kind of the artist, he's such a sweet man, and he is in so much love with Nora. And
Just
it
to
causes
add
them
more
no
to it.
end, right? I mean, he says some of the like the best lines in the book. So yeah, he's a great character.
Yeah. Well, you're also, I always am so intrigued how we fit all of this in our life, right? You're a writer, you're a mom, you're an editor, you're a wife, you're so many different things. What does writing look like behind the scenes for you? How do you fit it all in?
It's very chaotic, Kara. It's very, very chaotic. I think so I've been doing this for a very long time. So I have been a book editor, I don't even know, an entire lifetime.
Sure.
Uh, right. And so you just shift with where you're at the time and you do what
Yeah.
you can do. And I think people that say you have to write every day paralyze people. I say write consistently, and then make space where you can. So I do a writer's retreat with a couple of other writers, and we've been doing it for years. And that's a weekend
Yeah.
every year, and I can get 10 to 15,000 words written in that time period. So that's in my books, that's like, maybe 20% of a book,
Sure.
but it's a nice concentrated time to like work through the hard parts of any book.
Yeah.
Um,
And like a guaranteed time, right, that you're
yes.
going to have.
Yes, and you can make those leaps forward. And then otherwise, I take advantage of like every little second. I use my voice to text when I was in carpool line to
Yeah.
write that way, or if I'm walking, I'll dictate a little bit, or I just have a pad of paper wherever I go, and I take the time that I have, and I find pieces of what I have to do to fit into that little bits of time. So it might be a marketing thing, it might be whatever. Like this morning, I had to drop off a car at the repair shop, and between that and when we popped on here, I was
Yeah.
researching keywords for Amazon. Like,
Yeah.
so anybody out there that's a writer and you have a lot of things going on, you just find the time. Get up at
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning, like Kara does, because that's insane. Um, or, if you're a night owl, you stay up till midnight, which is what I did to finish Darkness Calls the Tiger because my kids were little then.
Yeah.
You find the time and you
Yeah.
figure it out.
I've really been thinking lately that we should be able to put mom on our resume. And I think, and exactly what you're saying is this time management and squeezing things in and moving things around so you can make space to do that. I'm like, we should be able to put mom on our
You
resume.
We absolutely should. And I think any mom would 100% accept that. Like,
Yeah.
yep, God bless you. We know.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I work a full-time job in addition to other things. My kids are older though, so
Yeah.
it's,
And I'm
it's a
not
lot
discounting
easier.
dads. I just don't know that
No,
experience. Like,
no.
so I can only speak to the motherhood side.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
What did you learn about yourself through writing this book?
Oh my goodness. So this book, I have to tell you, so this book was a long haul for me. So I ended up, I mentioned that I was like down the research hole early, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, I gotta set this aside. I can't do this right now. And so I had to set it aside and do things that I had to do. And I released Darkness Calls the Tiger in there, I think even. Um, and it was the conflict between the sisters was really actually very hard for me to write. Um, it I struggle with conflict myself. I like want to
Yeah.
run away.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
I had to be
non-confrontational. I'll tell you right
I
off.
I just don't like it. So writing it on the page and living that
Yeah.
for so long and so deeply was really hard. But I loved being able to see both sides, which is something that I do very naturally, which I think is why I avoid conflict. Because it's like it feels bad to me for you to
Yeah.
do that, but I understand why you do that. So I don't want to like bug you about it. And
Yeah.
I just want to go away and not worry about it. But so that was hard. But then in addition, I was about halfway through the book when two of the Egyptian gods from their mythological pantheon started talking like characters to me. And I was like, listen, this is a historical book. Like,
Yeah.
you just like go away. And they were very insistent. And they just kind of wedged themselves into the book. And if you have ever written before or you've talked to authors, you know that we end up having to listen to the
Yeah.
characters when they tell us that we have to do something. So these guys don't have a point of view in the book, but they have a lot of heavy influence in the book, which was very strange for me to play with. And when I went to go rewrite the book, I was like, I'm going to have to like completely check out the first half of the book and start
Yeah.
over. They were already there. They were
Wow.
already there, and I hadn't realized it.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting, it was a very difficult thing for me to do because it was very different from what I've done before. And kind of slipping into that magical realism kind of vibe for it. And it's in the background. It's not like all
Sure.
of the thrill. But the two Egyptians gods were Horus and Set, and
Okay.
Horus is balance and Set is chaos. And we were just talking about motherhood, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
think we can identify with this. Like,
I
there
know both
are
of those things.
two forces in our lives. One is chaos and one is order, right?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is how the Egyptians kind of think about those things. And Set, who is chaos, he's also responsible for good change, right? So there's a
Yeah.
lot of, we think of chaos as always being bad, but if you think like even changes in seasons and those types of things, that's what Set is responsible for in their pantheology.
Yeah.
But it was a very difficult but fun element to play with that I've never made use of in my writing. So it was really fun to play with, but not easy.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
stretched you in new ways. And I
Yeah,
love that for
exactly.
you.
Uh-huh. It was fun.
Yeah. Because we also wouldn't change unless we're challenged. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And that's where, and it plays into the two sisters. I mean, you could kind of tell when I was talking about it. Nora is very much aligned with Horace. She's that order. She's
Yeah.
got her life planned out. She knows what she's supposed to do. She goes and does it, even if she doesn't want to. And then you have Estelle, who is like, no.
Yeah. Not
I'm gonna
happening.
do I'm gonna do my thing and what I think is right. And she kind of upsets the apple cart a little bit. So it was very interesting. Like I said, I had
Yeah.
unconsciously set up that conflict right into the heart of the story.
Yeah. So it just added to it. I love
It
it.
did. It added to it. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about who you are as a reader. So, what genres do you enjoy reading?
I am the most eclectic reader on the planet, I think. So I am all over the place. And of course, the research. So I'm reading a lot of nonfiction, crazy stuff. Like for this book, I read a biography of the guy that during this time period, he was the one of two FBI agents in the art theft division. There were only two of them.
Wow.
And he wrote a memoir. Like,
Yeah.
who
There you
knew these
go.
things?
Yeah.
And he is hilarious. If you ever get a chance, I'll have to send you the book title.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Please
it off
do.
the top of my head. But if you ever get a chance, it's a very funny book. I mean, he tells the story of finding a Rembrandt in a gas station restroom,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Like, what in the world? But like that, and so I'm reading a lot of the research sides. I've got that. I love Brene Brown. She's fantastic
Yeah.
when I'm trying to work through character conflicts and that type of a thing. It's a
Oh,
lot of
yeah. Wouldn't even
her
think about it from that. Yeah.
mentality that comes through. Even like The Body Keeps the Score. It's
Yeah.
fantastic for writers. Um, and, to understand yourself too. But so I read a lot of the nonfiction. And then I also read everything when it comes to fiction. I read historical, I read contemporary, I read romance, I read, my personal favorite are like that mystery thriller genre. Those are a lot of what I read. I love fantasy. I grew up on fantasy. And you'll see, so this book is actually kind of a loose series where each book in the series is a different mythological set of pantheon. So this one is Egyptian. The next one coming is Slavic. I have Greek and then Celt. So
I'm so excited.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to just play with the things that I love. Yeah. As soon as Horse and Set started talking to me, I'm like, okay, this can't be the only one. Like, this would be a very bizarre, like left turn. And so I've been working with the myths that I grew up on. I had a whole stack of books. They were all blue with this gold foil that were all the different myth cycles. And so I'm having so much fun going back to that. So I'm just all over the stinking place. I always tell people, when you're getting book recommendations from me, make sure you read the descriptions, because I will be recommending a sweet romance one day and the darkest, like, Stephen King next day. And one never knows what I will be reading. And I have a physical book club that I belong to. We've been together for more than a decade. And those gals, I love them to pieces because they make me read books I would never in a million zillion years ever read.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's what a book club is for, I feel like. Yeah.
It is. It's so much fun. That's why I love this kind of show too, because you are like, I love books and we'll just talk about everything. So it's fantastic. Yeah.
Like way back, you know how there's various iterations of how you describe the show, and it was like to expand your reading horizons. Like way back, that was part of it, was because there are so many books out there.
Yes.
But I want to know what's worth spending my time, and I say that in the best way possible. But if I'm going to explore something completely new to me, I want it to be, I need to have heard it a couple times or come from a trusted source of someone that reads this a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, my book club gals always laugh because I'll come in and they'll be like, what did you think? And I'm like, personally, I hated the book, but this author is like an amazing example of this genre. And I love what they did here and there and there. And they're like, how do you do that? And I'm like, welcome to what I did for my job. Like, I have to be able to separate, this is my personal taste versus this is a good example of this genre or this style. So yeah.
And what's not for me is for someone else, right? So that's why I'm like, I hesitate to say it like that, because that book may be for you and it's just not my personal taste. That's
exactly. I'm 100% behind that. Yeah.
So where do you fit reading in that busyness?
Right now, a lot of audiobooks, a lot of audiobooks. So when I'm driving my car, when I'm folding laundry, when I'm making dinner, I have my earbuds in at all times almost. And that's probably 75% of my reading. The other is this is so stupid. I have the Kindle app on my phone.
Yeah.
So I always have a book with me. And so when I'm waiting at the doctor's office, I'm on my phone, but I'm not scrolling social media. I'm reading a book. And so I actually just got Jenny Walsh's Death Was Not on the Guest List, I think is the name of the book.
Yes. I saw the cover recently.
And so I just got her advanced reader copy.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, where can I go and sit and read the arc of this? Because I was dying. I'm like, Jenny, can I have a copy?
Yes.
So I'm super excited because it looks very Agatha Christie, which I love Agatha.
Yeah, the cover was awesome.
I know. It's
my
beautiful.
birthday is on Friday, and my husband had said to me yesterday morning, he's like, what do you want for your birthday? I have an idea, but I don't know if you're going to want that. And so I'm just asking. And I didn't know at the time. I said, I don't really know. Like, because what do you need as an adult? It's always very hard for me.
Right. I agree.
And then we got to the end of yesterday and I said, you know what I want? I said, I want a reading retreat. I want to go to like a hotel by myself for a night or two and just no one's calling me. There's nothing to be done in the house. Just send me away somewhere.
That sounds like a little bit of heaven right there. 100%. Like there was a social media meme that was going around not that long ago that was like doing a bookstore crawl instead of like a wine or beer crawl.
Yes.
That we all like just get a van and then we all read or like listen to a book on tape because I would throw up if I was actually reading the
Yeah,
book.
same.
But listen to a book on tape while we go to different bookstores and just sit there and read. And I was like, I'm in. Who's doing this?
Yeah, I
Who's
thought
doing
about
this?
doing that for my 40th,
That would be
actually, like
amazing.
hiring a van and then we would go to bookstores and maybe do like a scavenger hunt in the bookstore or something. I thought about doing this and then it didn't happen, but it was, it's
Life.
grandiose of like, what would I love to do? Well, that's it.
I know, right? Right? Someday we'll have the time.
Yeah,
Some,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, I ask all of our guests to bring
Yeah.
3 books in the form of a book flight. Can you tell us how you chose these books?
How I chose them? So these books are, as I looked back over the last few months of what I have read, these are books that I either read for the first time or reread and
Okay.
thought, oh my goodness, these are really good examples of the books that are in genres that I happen to really love.
Ooh,
Um,
okay. All
yeah.
right. Perfect.
So, do you want me to do I get to tell you what
Yeah.
they're about? Okay.
Yeah. Let's,
So
what's
the
the first one?
first one is a historical novel about women. So I love historical books that kind of reveal new things about women. And these are just like normal women,
Yeah.
which it was kind of fun. And it is written by Marie Bostwick, and it's the book club for troublesome women. And it's just a book about these women who just kind of randomly come together. They're from different worlds, different socioeconomic places, and they form a book club, which love, all the love. And they just end up supporting one another's in these beautiful, beautiful ways. Loved it to pieces. Highly recommend. I love Marie Bostwick, both as a
Yeah.
person and a writer. She's excellent.
And now that you're talking about it, I'm like, I don't know that I have read it. It might just be sitting on my TBR in the
Yeah,
stack.
it's not a fast-paced bang 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 kind of book. So, prepare yourself. It's not my normal, it's not a thriller suspense where it's a really fast moving, but it's like this gentle like just it was a very breath of fresh air
Yeah.
in a lot of what I read. So I'm eclectic, but I tend to like I do palate cleanser kind of books in
Sure.
between some of the things. Um, and I wouldn't call this a palate cleanser because it made you think,
Yeah.
but it would be a really good book club book, is what it really comes
Mm,
down to. So it
okay.
makes you think, but it's not like the fast-paced, beachy read kind of book.
Yeah. So,
And I say that because my beach reads are thrillers and suspense. I don't read normal beach read books on the beach, so whatever.
there you go.
Mhm.
Well, add that one to your list. That's the book club for Troublesome Women by Marie Bostwick.
Yep.
And then
And
what's
then
the
the
next book?
second one is a reread for me. And it's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And this is a classic
Yeah.
kind of gothic novel. A lot of twisty, a lot of people not telling all the truth all the time, which is very much what I write. And so I will often revisit Rebecca when I'm trying to get a really good gothic vibe. Sometimes what you read comes out in the vibes of what you're writing at the time. So I
Oh,
will do
okay.
that. And I'm not copying.
Yeah.
Please don't hear me say that. I am like getting myself in the mood to
Yeah.
like
I was
write that
thinking your
kind of vibe.
headspace. You're putting
Yeah.
yourself there.
Yes, exactly. That vibe and the rhythms of the language and that type of a thing. Um, and so I was editing my next book, and that one's called Burning the Raven Tree. It's coming out in September, and
Ooh,
it is
okay.
very much Rebecca vibes. Very
Okay.
much. In fact, it was so much so that I could not resist dropping Easter eggs.
I
Could
love
not
it.
resist it. Yeah. So I love classic films. So, it was kind of perfect for that. And actually The Scorpion Thief has a few from The Maltese Falcon, if you're
Oh,
familiar with that.
yes.
So there's a few little hints in there for that.
Yeah. So,
Um,
quick question, really
yeah,
quick, about Burning the Raven Tree. Is that
yeah.
the one that's part of loosely related to the Scorpion Thief
Yes,
in theme?
ma'am. Yep.
Oh,
So
okay. All right.
that one is Slavic
Okay.
in the mythological underpinnings of it. So we're like totally sidetracked, but that's okay. This
Yeah.
is fun. So it is set in the 1960s in northern Michigan
Okay.
during the time period where the state mental institutions were deinstitutionalizing,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So we have a woman that's accused of a decade-old murder, a disgraced lawyer from Chicago who's coming back home and is going to try and help her. Um, but does he? He's finding stuff that he did not expect to find. And then there's an old oak tree who is the only witness to what has happened over the last 25 years.
Okay.
And the oak tree in this one has a point of view.
Yeah.
Was kind of crazy to play with. So, but
Yeah.
that came from again research. So there's a book called The Hidden Life of Trees, and it's written
Okay.
by this guy who takes care of old growth forests in Europe. And
Okay.
it's all about how trees communicate with one another.
Oh, that's cool.
I know.
Yeah.
And so there's a tree. We all know, I think, the Celtic tree of life,
Yeah.
that kind of symbolism.
Sure.
Almost every mythic tradition has a tree of life in it,
Yeah.
including Slavic. So it's
Okay.
kind of this representation of that. But the Slavic has this character called the Baba Yaga,
Yeah. Okay.
who is the forest witch. And this woman is terrifying
Yeah.
and very fun to play with when you overlay it onto a story like that has similar vibes to Rebecca.
Okay.
So yeah,
Oh,
it
I'm
was super
so
fun.
excited. I didn't want to ask this like back when we were talking about your writing because I know authors don't always know or it's coming out later and they don't want to divulge. So,
Yeah, that
hey,
one's coming
I
soon
love that
enough.
little
Then.
side. Yeah, I love that little
Mm-hmm.
sidebar.
Yep.
So, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and
Yep.
then you could go pick up Burning the Raven Tree by Janyre. So,
Absolutely. Do that. And then
yes.
my third one then is like totally different again. This shows my total eclectic style. It's Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers, and that's by Jesse Q. Satanto.
Okay.
And this one had me giggling. Which murderers and giggling? What? So it's found family. It's this controlling older Asian woman who is just like chef's kiss amazing. And it's like it's twisty, but it's cute and like heart-wrenching and all the things. I loved this book. And it's actually part of a series, which I haven't read the rest of it because I just
Okay.
found out when I was looking up the books for you. I was like, oh my goodness, there's a series. Who knew?
I
So okay,
actually knew that, and I was going to ask you if this was the first one. So,
it is.
okay,
It
I
is.
haven't read it though. So,
I have more books to read. That's always a good thing.
there you go. So that was Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Q. Sutanto. Thank you for bringing those books. It's so fun to
Yeah.
hear what y'all are reading and, reading your books and then knowing what you're reading. It's a really fun
Yeah.
twist.
It's very fun. I love doing that too.
Yeah. Well, and how I love to end our show is with a speed round of questions you can answer really quick.
Okay.
What is one book you've read that has changed your life?
This is such a hard question.
I know.
For me. It's such a hard question. So I always reach way, 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 way back.
Okay.
Because I think after you have like this volume of books, each individual book has less impact just because there's so many more.
Sure.
Um, so for fiction, I go all the way back to probably C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That book,
Yeah.
I actually read it in first grade, which is very precocious, I realize. um, but that is where my love of reading started. I loved that book. I reread that book, and it's been something that has influenced how I see the world for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it opened up the world of reading for you. I
Yes,
could see where
exactly.
that would be a very poignant book right there.
Yep. Yep.
You've already mentioned this one, so I think I know the answer, but are you a rereader?
I'm a very selective rereader. So I mentioned I reread Rebecca, but there's very few, and Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is another one that I reread,
Yeah.
but there are very few that I go back to and read cover to cover. But there are books that I go back to and I read sections of them because I don't know if you know this, but I'm not perfect. And I have areas in my writing that I struggle with.
Yeah.
So, for example, I like blowing things up. those action sequences are pretty easy for me to read or to write. But when it comes to the romance, that's where I struggle.
Yeah.
And so I have a few books that I go back to and again, just to get the vibe and the rhythm and the flair of it. I go back and I reread sections of those books to get myself in that headspace to do it.
Yeah.
And for the record, I have won romance awards, so I can do it very,
Yeah.
very well. It's just not my strength. It's
There
hard.
you go.
It takes something out of me to do it.
Okay, this one I'm throwing at you out of left field here. So,
Okay.
can you describe The Scorpion Thief in 3 words?
Oh, that one is really hard.
And they don't need to be related.
Gothic
Okay.
or noir. It's probably more noir
Okay.
because it's a little slicker than Gothic. Probably noir, mystery, Egyptian.
Ooh, I love it. I'm not holding you to it. I was going to say like
that was hard. My goodness, I'm going to have to do that now, though. That's a really good practice, actually, to process through that. But you've got the sisters too, so that I don't know.
Yeah.
There you go. That's 4.
That's right.
I'm
it was
adding
totally out of
sisters.
left field. Listeners,
No,
I
you're
do
fine.
send questions ahead of time to the guests, and this was not on it. So
That's okay. No, it's actually a really good thing to process through. Because like, I mean, you guys wouldn't ever know this. There's no reason you would. But as authors, we are required to come up with a lot of copy ourselves, like a lot of the text that you hear about our books. And so we have all different lengths. We have longer ones and shorter ones.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like, I think the shortest I have of this one is like 30 words, but
Yeah.
it's easy. It's good to come up with really super short.
Yeah.
And make you force yourself to think about it.
Well, thank you for having fun
Yeah.
with it. Lastly, this one should be easy.
Okay.
What are you reading next?
So I think we talked about it. I'm on my Kindle. I have Jenny Welsh's Death Was Not on the Guest List.
Yep.
I am listening to Alice Feeney's Beautiful Ugly, which love Alice Feeney. And anybody that's known me for a while, my original, way back when I first started, my original website was Beautiful Ugly Me.
Yeah.
And you'll still see the remnants of that, because to change from that URL to my name is really not easy to do.
Yeah.
So you can still find me by plugging in JanyreTromp.com.
Yeah.
But it'll go over to Beautiful Ugly Me. So I was like, oh my goodness, that's super fun that there's such a strong connection there. And so far it is a very, very good book. I recommend that one too.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show with me this morning. I know your time is precious, and I appreciate all you've given me.
I so appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today with Janyre Tromp, talking about her new book, The Scorpion Thief. Her book flight included exceptional examples of books in their genres. We'd love to hear what other books you find exceptional at bookishflights.com. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Your review not only helps the show, but it also helps the podcast to reach others. Make sure you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to make sure you will not miss an episode. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. As Emma Thompson said, I think books are like people in the sense that they'll turn up in your life when you most need them. Cheers to you, dear readers. Until next time.